Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at strategy. This was a stock analysis request from one of the followers, and I wanted to let you know that anyone can make these requests and I'll most likely cover them, especially if there is an actionable trade setup to follow. And on this chart we unfortunately failed to extend higher here within the white interpretation, and while this isn't necessarily the biggest surprise, since we did actually prefer an additional significant low on the Bitcoin chart. When I did cover this video, I did cover this stock, I did also mention that on the Bitcoin chart we actually still prefer for the continuation lower, but certainly it was to a much more serious degree than ideal or than necessary, and we did fail to follow or to hold here within this chart, within this movement to the upside, where we were tracking still an extension higher within this wave 3 in this idea of an ABC movement. And we were mentioning that if we manage to break here the 78.6% retracement around the $268 level, we should expect with the higher likelihood that we should see a failure even of the larger correction within an internal wave 4 in this area, that we shouldn't necessarily expect a reset and we should see a break even below the 61.8% retracement. Yeah, it wasn't expected to hold within this interpretation because it was way out of proportions with what we had in a correction here in a wave 2. Now, in such a case, unfortunately, we pretty much have to consider that we formed already a more significant top within this larger wave 3, and this could have happened actually in a couple of scenarios. So yeah, we would consider this to be the third, fourth, and the fifth already in place. We don't need any additional highs, and the larger wave 3 is complete, either as part of a larger leading diagonal, where this would be the wave 3. We would then look for a correction in a wave 4 and then a fifth wave to the upside to complete a larger 5-wave move to the upside, or it could also be part of a larger ABC movement, in which case the correction, while isn't necessarily expected to have even as deep an area of support within this movement in a wave C, we could see a very long time within this correction, yeah? Because in this idea we have a 1-2 setup where the wave 2 took like, 5 years to complete? Nearly 5 years. Well, we would expect a quite similar correction within this wave 4, even if it will not end up being necessarily as deep. And also in the previous video we were tracking this idea for possible continuation higher after a large correction in wave 4 where we do break the area of support for the white scenario, but again the proportions just don't line up. It is so unlikely for this interpretation to succeed, and even though we may end up holding the area of support, I would probably still prefer one of the other scenarios. And for those reasons, we probably need to focus on one of these other interpretations, where again, we have either a larger wave 3 complete, well, in this case, we would be watching here an area of support between the levels at $160, which has already been reached, down to the $22 level, where a break below here, the 61.8% retracement, would be quite a strong signal that this chart has an even more significant pattern complete, an even more significant structure complete, where realistically we don't need any additional highs to form, and we could basically lead directly into even a new low territory. And then as I was mentioning, we also have this idea of an ABC movement where we can be tracking here a 1, 2, 3. Well, this would be an internal wave 4 within an ending diagonal instead, and we can be tracking this idea within a yellow interpretation where the area of support would slightly differ. It would be between the $207 level instead, still down to the 61.8% retracement, but at that $43.6 level. Now, in both cases, we are already within the area of support, and we may need to gauge more based on the actual structure within this correction, how large it is, yeah, the proportions, which pattern it exactly is. But right now it doesn't really matter, and we can safely focus on the internal movement, the internal correction within this area, because even in the white scenario we actually expect this to go even lower. Even in the yellow scenario we expect this to extend even lower with the highest degree of likelihood. Also, as on the Bitcoin chart, we expect still another significant low. Now, within this structure, we are primarily going to focus on a potential ABC movement to the downside, where in the wave C, we would expect a 5-wave move to be developing, whereas it could technically still work out as a WXY we may need to see more evidence before we can assume an early bottom, because within the wave within the wave Y, we only expect something like an ABC movement for a complete structure, and we would need to see a break above the wave 4 resistance levels to rule out the possibility of still another low within a follow-up wave 5. But right now, I probably still prefer that even internally, if I am to consider this as an initial wave 1 down and a wave 2 up, I would probably expect this wave 3 to extend even further. At the moment, I am tracking even a potential impulse within this area, and yeah, let's track this within orange. And in this wave C in orange, we'll be focusing again on this wave 3, where we would have here a wave 1 down, a wave 2 up, a third wave down, and then a fourth and a fifth to complete this larger pattern. But I have to say, I don't necessarily have too much confidence that even after we form a more significant low here within a wave 3, that it would be complete, and we may need still another fourth and another fifth to complete this overall wave 3, because yeah, within this structure I could consider this to be a 1, 2, 3, where yeah, the internal wave 3 may still be ongoing, and then we would need a fourth and a fifth. But the positive side about this is that the area of resistance for both ideas, that this wave 3 would bottom within this wave down or not, both areas of resistance are basically very, very similar, so this shouldn't affect us practically too much. And for a signal that a more significant bottom is already in place, I would need to see here a break above the $215.5 level. Then I would be able to consider that a larger wave 3 within this area is complete, or even this overall structure is complete, but I don't necessarily expect this to be a high likelihood interpretation that we actually manage to break here the resistance levels. And yeah, again, I actually prefer that we continue in this downtrend and we continue to build this larger structure within this larger wave C. And even once this movement is complete, even once we get here the third wave complete, we get a fourth and then a fifth, we may still need to be prepared for another fourth and another fifth to push into even lower prices. Now again, these structures can always end early, and we will be looking for a signal for that, but again, the signal is the break above the resistance levels, which so far isn't necessarily within our range. We haven't even gotten to such a resistance level, as internally within this push to the downside we are still extending even lower at this point. And my probably preferred interpretation right now is that we have something like possibly even a double 1 2 1 2 setup, a third wave down, a fourth wave up, and then we have here a fifth wave, and then we may have here another fourth and another 5. But even then we may still need a larger push upside. We may be within something like an ending diagonal, and we need to be a bit more patient, especially with these smaller time frame structures, because they can actually morph very, very easily. And what I could be tracking now as an actual impulse to the downside could be morphing into a larger ending diagonal, something like a 1 2 3, and then we get a fourth and then a fifth to take us even lower. We need to overall be patient, and ultimately I would need to see a break above this high for a signal that this structure is not going to extend directly lower, because it could even form something like a 1 2 setup within this area. And in this case, for such a signal that we will likely see a break above that high, I would need to see here a break above the 78.6% retracement, the $187 level. And then of course I may be able to use proportions depending on these corrections that unfold to the sideways, where we don't necessarily need a break above that level for an idea that this may have bottomed and we may be in the larger wave 4. But right now I cannot tell you how it will play out exactly. I cannot predict the structure that will play out within this area with exactitude, especially on such a smaller time frame. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.